Hi, welcome. Thanks everybody for coming to Gallery Chimera. We're going to talk to
Hello.
Alisha and Caleb Morgan about their latest show. And what's the name of the show?
It is Dark Dreams, Bright Realities, Divergent Realms.
I love it. So if you're in the Atlanta area, stop by Gallery Chimera. And so thanks to everybody for coming. So Alisha and Caleb are not only business owners, they own this gallery, but they are also a married couple. So I'm going to start off by asking you a little bit about that, about owning a gallery. Tell us about how long have you been a gallery?
Do you want to?
We've been a gallery about exactly a year, just a little bit more than a year.
Happy anniversary then, right? This is your anniversary show?
Yep, it is.
And what made you decide to open an art gallery? What was the impetus?
You want to take this one or me to say it?
Hi. Doesn't matter.
Well, so I'm also a tattoo artist, and I was looking for a space to do private tattoo work. And we came across this space, and she was already painting, doing fine artwork, stepping away from the tattoo realm. And when we found this space, it was like a perfect spot for an art gallery. It just kind of said art gallery. The shape of it, the structure of it, everything said art gallery. So we just kind of decided to merge the two, and it just kind of got built out of there.
So you're also a tattoo artist.
I was, and I got a little burned out. I was a tattoo artist in Florida and traveled for the weekends home every week, and I got a little burned out. So we sold our business down there, and then I just focused on art. And recover a little bit from my burnout. And I first just showed our artwork here, and then it got kind of boring to just do us. So then we decided we should ask our friends and first to show also, and doing shows for them, help them to get a stepping stone into this community. And and then evolved into a full-fledged gallery.
I love that. It's just organic growth.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing about this past year owning a gallery?
Owning a gallery.
Well, for me, it is that we make a lot of friends, and the friendships, the art we getting in. Yeah, that's pretty much for me.
Creative tethering, because you get to view and interact with other artists, like what she was saying, and you get to have that bleed off into your own creative process, whether it be through my tattoo work, whether it be through my painting or whatever else. You kind of get like this nice bleed off of creativity that you didn't kind of expect just by owning the space.
Oh yeah,
so
that's very cool.
Yep.
What was the scariest part when you thought, oh my gosh, we're going to own a gallery? What was your fear? What were your fears about that?
All the fears about that. For me, it was when I started showing with other people, other artists, to make sure I make or exceed their expectations and make them feel at home, comfortable when they have to talk with collectors and people who come in, and make it perfect for them and have a good experience, because it's kind of scary when you have your first show and then people come and ask you questions and you have to talk about your art, and your artists are sometimes a little quirky and like introverts, and to get them out and help them with that. So that was my biggest fear, to not succeed with their expectations. But it was really nice when you have those great experiences. So that was my biggest fear.
You need to be kind of a mama bear a little bit to try and take care of them as well as show them off, right?
Yeah. And that's like the biggest nice thing on it, is seeing them so happy when they talk about it, and then they have the sales and build them up, and then afterwards too, how they grow. That was amazing.
For me, having been a tattoo artist for years, relatively well known in my industry, but owning a gallery meant I had to bring legitimacy into a fine art sense, which I am a classically trained artist, but I had to prove my legitimacy outside of what I already had in the tattoo industry. Is kind of, you're trying to prove to people that you're more than just what they're seeing, and so you're trying to kind of. I mean, that's the best way I can really describe it, as trying to prove your legitimacy in the fine art world into another space or another form of art.
But what a great way to do it! To claim your legitimacy by saying this is a real gallery and we are here.
That's just it. Like, that was very important for us opening up, that this was not going to be a tattoo shop with gallery paintings in the front. That this was a gallery, but that the tattoo was incorporated into it as almost installation art. It was, in its own sense, a form of performance art surrounded by visual art. And so it's just, we tried to kind of revisit or like reimagine the way that the whole thing could be done. And in my estimation, I've never seen it done like that. This was the first I've seen.
How do you feel as though your tattoo art and your fine art, having them all in the same space, or just working on them in a public way at the same time, even if your paintings aren't in the space, do you feel like that creativity is feeding each other, like in a loop in some way?
It's symbiotic for sure. I mean, even for the clientele, I tattoo the clients and they're immersed in whatever art is being shown at the time, whether it be mine, Alicia's, or another artist that we're featuring. That creativity will feed into ideas that they have to add into the tattoo, or realizing that there's something that they never thought of. I mean, there's so many different, because a lot of my clients are here multiple times for large pieces, and so they'll see multiple shows, or they'll see multiple examples of different artists, and it does kind of create a creative space for them to come up with something, and for me to do the same.
Oh, so, that's cool.
Yeah, because tattooing sometimes is very always the same. It feels like, oh, I saw this. It's repetitive.
Yeah.
And now that they're in an environment where they see art more out, like when we have Caleb, it's so different from what I do. And then when we had your show, it was collage and very bright colors. So it's all like different influences where I'm like, ooh, I didn't know you could do that. So it's a nice creative way to expand a little bit and educate tattoo clients to fine art.
That's
even
cool.
If they're not art trained, they can find a creative space that they might not realize they have. You could be like a day banker or a day trader or whatever else, and you come in and realize that there's all of a sudden a creative spark that you never realized was there, just by being in the energy of a space that is surrounding you with creativity.
It's like a sea of creativity that you're immersed in.
And not even trying to be cheesy about it, but that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
Essentially. So.
And I want to ask you more stuff about like how your art influences each other, but I want to talk about there's the gallery first for a minute, because it's your anniversary at the gallery. Mm-hmm. How would you describe the kind of art that you focus on to display here? Or a kind of artist, or how do you think of the focus?
So all of them. So I want to be inclusive with beginning artists, emerging artists, seasoned artists. So the first show I actually had with my group, we were all not having, well, I had a solo show, but none of the group show nobody had a solo show or ever showed in a gallery. And to give them the experience and help them, guide them. But then also the next one we have, they are all very seasoned artists. It's like the old time of figure drawing in there.
Oh, I'm excited about that. That's gonna be beautiful.
And it's like, I want to show it all. And then we have a photography coming up next year in the beginning of the year when they actually work together with the tattoo and the photography. So I want to have more variety and not just one thing or one style. It's maybe not normal, because galleries you go and you know what you're getting a lot of times. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like what my vision is in there.
Yeah, I don't want to be known as a gallery that's just doing, contemporary expressionism or postmodern, abstractism. I don't want to be labeled into like this thing that an art blogger would just throw into a New York Times article. It's more important to showcase artists who have something to show. Obviously, we want skilled artists. We want artists that are going to be good to look into a gallery. But as far as styles and diversity, bringing it all different types, whether it be photography, whether it be sculpture, whether it be installation, whether it be visual, it doesn't matter. Whatever brings the interest.
And as far as regional, are you looking at artists from wherever? Are you looking mostly at Georgia artists for now?
We look at artists wherever. Art is not localized. Art is international. And if somebody lives that's not near here and they're willing to work with us to get their work shown here at this gallery, they're going to do the work. You know, I don't feel like staying local is advantageous to anybody, especially in art scene.
Right.
So
we will have a good mix of it. We will have locals.
we do have
to
locals,
grow
yes.
our community
Absolutely.
here. Because our community here in Fancy Island is very community oriented.
Yes.
So we want to have it both. But we had the first shows we had them from all over. We had in Texas, South Carolina, Minnesota, Michigan, and then next year we have someone from Chicago.
Right.
Who we already know we're gonna have. So so we will be mainly focused around here, but we will expand also nationally, internationally if we get some. I have some friends in Europe, so it would be great if I have them come over, have them visit, and then show their art.
So what are your plans? What do you have visions that you want to talk about? Maybe you want to keep them close to the vest. I don't know about where you want the gallery to go or what your future plans are for the gallery.
Question. I'm thinking that one. You get to answer first.
Just to grow the community and have a place people feel safe and to show wherever they are in their career. And maybe one day to grow bigger and have a little bit more space, even though I like this little space. Maybe have another location where we have bigger shows with bigger artwork, because we are a little limited on the size, and keep this more of the smalls, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
We're still a little open there. Maybe. I don't know.
We are. Even if we did get another space or a second space eventually, I want to stay intimate to the art. One thing I like with the boutique gallery and the Soho type of feel is that the viewer is immersed into the art. They're not step back 40 feet from a piece of art that's standing on a 60-foot wall, you know, on a concrete floor. They're in the art. They are in a small room. You know what?
We have different movies.
Yeah. But on the creative side, we want the community to know that this is a place to come for creativity, that they can see new stuff through here, and they can see stuff that will be inspirational and you know, local, international, wherever it's coming from. You know, we want to make sure that people are really inspired by what's coming on in here. And yes, I mean, it's not that we have different visions, but we have the same vision, maybe just different sides of it, as you could say.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
All right. So that leads me into, well, first of all, do you see entrepreneurship in this way, having a gallery as a creative artistic endeavor? Do you feel like that itself is an art project?
Yes.
Being an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Yes.
And you're married to each other, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you're business partners.
Yeah.
Correct.
And this is too personal. I don't know.
No.
I'm also married to an artist, and we work on projects together. So I you know, do you feel that running a business with your spouse
You can say it. It's
well,
okay.
do you find that it is it feels like such an inappropriately personal question, but you know, do you find that it is
Do you want me to read it for you?
no, I haven't even write it down. It's not even written here. It just struck me. Do you find that it has changed the way you are bonded together, being that you're entrepreneurs, and that also feeds into since your artists are different from each other, how does it affect each other? Like, how are you know?
We've owned a number of businesses together almost for the majority of our marriage, actually. So this is not a new thing. We actually are probably working less together now than we did even in some of the earlier businesses. You know, because we have the studios that we paint at and stuff like that. So in reality, it wasn't really hard to do that. Working for another, I mean, not for me. I was kind of used to it, to tell you the truth. Sorry. I mean, it just,
Well,
for me,
I
we've
can
done
say
this
my
before.
side on that one. Yes, he's a little bit more easygoing. Let's say it that way.
Yeah, I've done this. I've done this before, and honestly, this for me was way easier than having a tattoo shop with 15 artists in there that's like trying to herd cats.
Right.
You know, it's this, and not that it was simple, not that it's easy, but it felt better.
Well, with our other businesses we had before with tattoo shops and stuff, we learned how to be in our lane.
Mm-hmm.
We figured out, you have this job, I have this job, you don't get in my job. So you have to have very clear rules. And we sat down in the beginning and said, you're going to do, like, he's more of the tattoo side. We have both assistants who help out. I have an assistant for the studio, for the gallery. He has an assistant for his appointments and for his tattoos needs. We don't mix those.
They don't cross. The two assistants
doesn't
don't even
cross.
know each other.
I don't know sometimes what he
You
does.
don't even know his name, do you?
No.
Oh, her name.
They had dinner together once.
Very
nice.
Once, yes.
Communication is a huge thing, and slowing down sometimes to figure out where we want to go. But is it easy all the time? No.
No, it's never easy, but we have, I think, learned from past experiences.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
It kind of seems like it's sort of baked into the DNA of your union since you've done this. You just keep opening businesses together, like that's what you're.
But we always involve in something.
Yeah.
Yes, we
were
definitely
less-
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, less than 5 years together, we had already opened up the first business in Connecticut. Yeah, so it's been a lot.
I have so many questions to ask you guys, but I think let's see if you guys have questions, and then I'll go back to my list and see what you guys don't cover, because I know that viewers of art always have a million questions for artists. So we'll open up the floor. Anybody have a question for either one of them about art or business or whatever? Yes.
So do you have to divide the business part or the art part like 50-50? Like how does that work?
That's a great question. So, do you want to?
Not really.
It's different in both of our fields.
Yeah.
basically.
So the tattoo portion, because she doesn't really tattoo much, is basically almost 100% me, because I'm the only one tattooing. So, but I do have to have some involvement into the gallery. So there is some bleed over from one to the other. And it's not, if she does assist obviously with the tattooing, like whether it be critiques or whether it, financial or technical support or whatever else. But it can never be 50-50. That line kind of maybe goes back and forth a little bit.
So, but how did you do it with the show specifically? Because you tattoo, and then you had to do your art. How did you do that part?
Yeah, how did you
manage?
Time management, how?
Oh, time management?
Well, all of it, but like time management, especially for the art side and the business side. But for you, the fine art and the.
I went from 6 hours of sleep a night to like 4.
Right.
I mean,
Well, and he is very structured.
yeah.
So he has a very structured way. He gets up, he works out, and then he goes to work. He does his tattoo. He comes home. He does his prep. Eats in between. I don't know how he does it. I don't know. I just see it. It's amazing. And then when we had to get prepared for the show, every 3 minutes, he crunched every 3 minutes out of it, and he was like insanely focused. Like I paint and I sit down and mull over. He doesn't pre-plan. He goes on the canvas and he paints, and he is so focused. So he is an anomaly. I don't know how he does it with that. So he is very regimented, and you cannot get him out of you leave him alone. He's totally in his zone. You cannot, when anything goes wrong, he's like, this is throwing me off. And then you just move pieces out of his way so he can just go. But because the main income is right now the tattooing, for him, it was like he needed to get this done first, and then he had to figure out the work to get the body of work done in that time frame. So he had 3 months to get everything done. So in my hand, I try to schedule days. with art and the business and the gallery. I try to do Mondays to do most of my computer stuff, figure out what I need to do for the gallery. I needed assistance, so I hired an assistant for that because I have the art in the gallery, so that's two different businesses. So we actually have three businesses: tattoo, gallery, painting. So if I would just say, like, what you're asking about being an artist and having a full-time job, make sure that you carve out an hour or 2 hours a day where you do your art, and then have a part-time job basically if you want to do that as a career. I would suggest, and have one day where you do like archiving, writing down everything, have the sizes, post everything, but have days especially set up for that so you don't jump around too much.
And as an aside to that, you have to be disciplined. You have
Yeah.
to do it. Do not find a reason why. Don't be like, I'm tired. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Do it anyways. Because if you don't, then it will never be done. You can always find an excuse, but just as long as you stay disciplined to making sure you give your creative time this much time here, this much time here, as long as you keep those blocks solid, then you will get a result.
And you
So,
definitely have to work through your blocks. Like if
Yeah.
you feel like I don't feel like it, that's when you have to go and do your art.
the best
Because
type of,
that's when it comes and you work through those blocks.
your best work happens when you don't want to do it. Ironically,
It does.
inspiration does not come from comfort. Inspiration most often comes from discomfort and happy accidents.
And discipline.
And discipline. That's
Yeah.
really it. Like, comfort does not create the best work a lot of times. Not always. I mean, sometimes it does, but yeah, a lot of times you have to fight through that block. It's like you're kind of fighting for something, and then once you kick that block down, then it reveals something that's, useful to you. So.
Anybody else have any questions for now? We're going to come back to you guys if you think of anything. Okay, so let's talk about your art, because the gallery is fabulous. So Alisha, let's talk about your flowers. Talk to me about what's your favorite flower?
Ooh. That's hard.
What's your favorite flower to paint?
That's hard too. So I think poppies are one of my favorites. And then forget-me-not. I didn't paint them yet though. Don't know why.
Is that what's next? What's next?
Tulips actually. I have I'm in work with tulips. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's kind of what I like, poppies, because they are awesome when they open up, and I don't know why.
So painting flowers is kind of new to you, is that right?
Yes.
But your love of flowers is not new.
No, so that brings me back to like the love of flowers or plants in general. It was with my mom. I cannot grow flowers to save my life. It just doesn't work. I try, it doesn't work. So my house was always filled with flowers and plants. And I remember one plant, it's a green plant, don't know the name. I try to find it, and then has white little flowers, and they look like they're satin, but squishy and wet, but they're not wet. And they have like multiple on it, and they only bloom once a year for a short period. So I have to find.
Is it here in the United States, or is it?
It was in Germany, but it's a tropical plant. So I have to figure out. And I go to all the botanical gardens everywhere we are. Like, I don't know how many botanical gardens.
Looking for that flower.
A lot, and I never found this plant. I don't know. I'm still on the hunt.
And then there's the internet, of course.
I know, but I type it in how I remember that plant.
White flower.
I cannot find it. One day in one botanical garden, I will find
You're
it.
going to find it.
Yeah.
So the pieces that you have in this show are almost all using the same color palette, with the exception of a couple. But are you drawn to certain colors, or is this just where you are now, or what do you?
I'm with the background's black. I like the big contrast of it, but I don't like pink normally, but I do like to paint in pink. And that came out without knowing that I do like pink. Actually, I like the most when I did the hydrangeas from the color palette, that's more like my color palette, what I personally like.
Mm-hmm.
But I always pick flowers who are more pink to paint.
So, and speaking of color palette, we're sitting in this room surrounded by a very, very definite color theme. So can you talk about, was it consciously, I'm going to create a body of work with this color palette, or is this the mind of Caleb most of the time?
God, I hope not. Jesus. Nobody will go home anymore. We're done. No, the color palette is very intentional. I like, red is not my favorite color, blue is, but red is very dynamic against the black backgrounds, the velvet blacks. The type of work that I do does have a macabre type of haunting effect or haunting beauty to it, and the red just lends to that effect. I specifically like reds that are not necessarily resemblant of blood, but of more almost graphic, almost like a Frank Miller type of red, because it really stands off strongly against the blacks themselves and against the neutral grays. And so it's kind of a partial compositional choice and also an unintentional choice.
And so I think it would be fair to say that this group of paintings is pretty macabre.
It is.
And is that typical of your work on canvas, of your fine art?
Yes. It is. And it's actually becoming indicative of the tattoo work as well. It's just, I don't want to paint work that's necessarily horror-based in the traditional sense. You know, skulls and grotesque figures. I try to ride this line between atmospheric beauty, movement, gestural movement, and then slightly disturbing, but not enough that it draws you away, but that it keeps you there. So the whole goal of these pieces is really to not let you know what the emotion really is. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? But you're still standing there, and you still just don't want to walk away. So that's really what the goal actually is.
And are the figures and imagery things that you have seen, whether inside or outside, wherever you see things, or are they coming out of the canvas as you work, as part of the improvisation, as part of the communication with the creative?
In a way, I don't pre-plan anything. I might find a position on a model that I find interesting just online or in front of me, just for the hell of it, and I will use that. I look for dynamic movement. Everything's based on movement. I see movement as the most important part of actually all these compositions. So anything that I choose that is the foremost thought. Any of the figures that come out of it come from that in one sense or another. You know, it's hard to describe exactly why the canvases become the way they do, because I don't even really know what they're going to be originally.
So it's funny because we worked in those 3 months together in one studio, and it's like I pre-plan my art, and I set it up how I want it on a canvas, and I have it sketched out. He literally goes and he puts shapes on it with just loose, and then something forms out of it. And it's insanely crazy because I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do today? And he's like, I don't know, I'm just doing shapes. And then like hours later, it forms. Like, it's amazing, like how he forms out of shapes he puts in and feels. And he goes big strokes, he goes back, and then, like, it's right there, he paints, and then it's very loose. And then he walks back, and then he goes back. Like, that's like amazing. Like, I don't know how he does it.
I kind
That's
of
pretty amazing. I should have filmed it.
I probably
will.
can do that. Imagine waking up in the morning and your eyes are blurry and you're like slightly disorientated, lights really bright. As you start to wake up more, things come more into focus. Think of that as what these paintings are. Essentially, that's what it is. It is a waking dream bringing itself into reality, but you're still been awake long enough to remember what you were dreaming about before it kind of disappears. So these are almost a capture of something that you might have forgotten about an hour after you woke up.
Right. Okay. That I feel that.
So I have a question. Sometimes you tell me that you're excited to get into the studio because you have an idea. So do you have a formulated idea for some pieces?
No. When I say I have an idea, I don't have an idea for a figure. I don't have an idea for any of that stuff. What I have an idea for is an atmosphere that I'm creating. I see something, whether it be, like a storm, the way a storm came in, or the way the rain moved across something, or the wind was blowing something, or I see somebody walking down the street and you can almost see like the atmosphere around them. I don't know how to describe that. You physically see the atmosphere, and that's what the ideas are.
I can't wait to try and put that on canvas if I can. I'm going to try and get that on
Right,
canvas.
Yeah,
That's
well,
really
she sees it
fascinating.
because I'll come to her and say, I have to put this down. It's like, I have to put this down. And if in my sketches, it's the same way. I sketch what's not necessarily there. And it's almost like.
Is it a feeling then too with the atmosphere? Like when a storm comes in, sometimes you can feel it that something is coming. Is that too? Or no?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to describe. It's almost like I'm looking into not to be ethereal or weird, but it's almost like you're kind of looking into a different reality.
I'm sorry,
like
not to be
dimension.
ethereal or weird.
Yeah, but you're kind of looking into a different dimension almost. Like I don't know how to describe it really. I sometimes see things that nobody else is seeing when I create these things, and I don't try to describe them to her. She always asks me, she's like, "What are you painting?" And I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, this interview is really fascinating for me too to get this stuff out because I literally work next to him, and it's fascinating to see how he works. So different of how I work, and then how it just happens, and he has he barely had any. I think he had a model right there to have a little bit of the model shape, but other than that, everything just came from shapes.
When I first started doing this stuff, and it sounds strange, but I almost had imposter syndrome when I first started painting these types of pieces originally, because I felt like I was a vessel creating these things from something else, because I wasn't pre-planning them. They were just coming out of nothing. I was like,
You get the sense they're coming through you.
In a weird way. Like, it's so strange. Like, and I know that like it sounds creepy or weird, but I don't know any other way to describe it, because there was no reason why these things appeared the way they did.
I don't think it's creepy or weird. I think a lot of artists feel that way. I think that's a pretty
Maybe-
common.
maybe so. But the energy, maybe it's because it's a dark energy. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, who knows? I mean, whatever it is, it's there. And
So
it
do you
presents
think
people.
because you do more dark art, that you're such a calm, composed person that you can put your feelings into the paintings?
So, no, because I don't think so. I think some people think that because you paint dark art, that is part of your personality. I think in reality, me painting this dark art is just an acknowledgement that side of something exists, and I'm just rendering it.
Right.
I don't believe in any of it. It's just there, and that's just what's revealing itself. And that's what it is. That's what it is. So maybe that's where I mean, like, it's a vessel. You're not actually. I don't want to say you're not a part of your art, but you're not necessarily. Maybe I'm just rendering something that's actually just appearing in front of me, and without even realizing it.
Right.
You know. So.
Does your art scare your mom?
Not anymore. Not anymore. It scares my stepmother horrendously. She doesn't understand. My mom actually finds it quite fascinating now. Now, but you got to remember, these images were things that I was creating when I was like 11 or 12 years old.
She's gotten past it. She figured it out.
Well, after she thought might have to be therapy or something like that, but yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you're normal.
Yeah, it does sometimes scare mom, I guess. My like I said, my stepmom specifically. Sorry, Janie. That's what it is.
Okay, so I do have. Do you consider yourself primarily a fine artist or a tattoo artist, or do you see a difference at all?
There's
or
no difference.
It's just the same
There's
thing.
no
It's
difference.
just whether you're on skin or on canvas.
For me to disseminate and separate the two would be doing a disservice to what I believe my philosophy is in those two mediums. They are one and the same fine art. Different mediums, same auspice. Fine art. They are both fine art.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Yes. Did you have
Do
something?
you have to, so I was not classically trained. Yeah, was. Do you think fine art is, you need to go to be in a school for it and be trained as a fine artist?
It will give you an advantage and get you there a little quicker. You'll learn little things. But I have known many people who are classically trained who are not good artists at all.
Or they quit. They don't even do it.
Because they don't do it. Art is an organic thing. It comes. I don't. And lot of people would disagree with me on this. I don't think everybody can do art. I think you either have it or you don't. There's certain things you can be taught, and there's certain things you cannot. And you don't know until you try it. And some people go through the whole process and go through the art school and everything else and find out that they just never had it to begin with. And other people, like my wife, will not even realize it until they start painting. And then there it is. So it's one of those gifts that I just don't believe can be fully taught. It's one of those few things that you're either given it or you are not. So.
How do you think that you have wildly different styles and aesthetics? Do you think that the other person's art influences yours, either one of you? Do you think you're influencing each other at all?
No, not the art. What I like is how he works when we work together. To see how different techniques work, or how driven he is, or how I can just like meditate on it, what he doesn't do. I mean, he kind of does, but different. But no, the art doesn't influence.
Do you believe that then that you're saying that you would like to learn from his technique to emulate his approach in some way, that inspires you?
No, because we work totally different. It doesn't, like, I try to do certain things and I tried him to teach me, and it doesn't work. So he told me, like, with acrylic, what I need to do to get a certain way to do the technique. That's what it's also in school. In school, you get a technique. But then you have to find your own brush strokes, your own brushes, your own, what feels good. So no, not really. And then when I went into realistic, because he can get realistic stuff done really great with acrylic, and I couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, I need to go to an oil painting class to learn how to use the medium, because he didn't do it for a long time. No, I don't know.
No, I don't see that the two styles really merge, like, as far as inspiration goes. We will take different aspects of work ethic and use that maybe, but to take inspiration from somebody's technique and style is one thing. To emulate is improper, because you're not to just copy something. You're not accomplishing anything. You're not pushing the boundaries. And literally the whole reason art is even created is to create something new and something that has not been done before.
The only thing is, like, what inspired me is like how you work so loose. When I did my abstracts with acrylic, what is different from my alcohol inks, this is a different technique. I did emulate his looseness a little bit. Does that make sense?
Do art with no fear. In large movements, like what she was doing with the abstracts, like what I would do with these, is something that's important. If you create art with fear, it is going to read as such, and it's going to be tight. It's going to be over controlled, and you're not unleashing what the creative possibility can be. And it's not saying that there's not a place for hunkering down and getting tight on a piece. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about just overall, be loose with your creativity.
Rock and roll. Hold on loosely, but don't let go.
Yes.
So, Todd, let's talk about materials. You were painting in oils. These are all oils.
So the abstract I did with acrylic, and the realistic I did in oils.
And these are all acrylics.
These are all acrylic.
And I was going to ask you this last week. This is a pen, a paint pen. These little white tenderlies.
Yeah.
What brand is it?
It's a jelly.
Jelly is the brand, like JELLY. Because it's really fit. Looks great. I love the way it pops.
As an aside, if she had not shown me those pens, these tendrils would not be there in that bag.
See, that's how you're. Yeah.
Those would have been done with white brush, and it would not have had the same effect. That white pen creates quite a bit of the movement in these two pieces, nexostriazine and dioxazine specifically.
Yeah, I love the way the white pen is.
I did my mandalas. I did all kinds of stuff. So my mandalas I did with the jelly pen.
Oh yeah.
And then I had the paper still, and I'm not working on it. And I'm like, oh, you should use the black paper and use the pens. And he tried it out, and that's how the sketches in the back came through. Yeah,
those are cool. That's what made me first like, what the heck is that? I need to know what that is. Let's see. Do I have more questions? Let's see.
I think I had a question if you want to read one.
Oh yeah. Come.
Remember my question.
Questions from the crowd.
Quickly, before Baker does one question, I do have one aside about the medium. So, I was asked by a number of artists why I choose to do acrylic instead of oil, because there is the antiquated thought process in fine art world that if you don't do oil, you're not doing art. We know that's not true. For me, acrylic is the closest to my natural illustrative style, and I can move with it much easier. To do these in oil could be accomplished, but it would take 30 times longer.
Right.
And I don't feel like it would have the same gestural impact.
So you would not get the brush strokes like you do.
No, you don't. Only acrylic, and that medium could create these types of looseness pieces and be able to.
This is so you would not. There would be too.
This could not be created over a year. It couldn't, because it would be tight. It has to be done quickly. It has to be done in a short amount of time to create the whimsy.
Right.
So.
It might get too precious if you have to wait, and then you lose your flow, and then
Sorry, Baker. Go ahead.
No worries. So one of you is classically trained, the other is not. Do you think that if someone who is considering going to art school, that technique is something that can be taught, but the soul can't?
Technique absolutely can be taught. Technique can be taught in anything. At least my thought is. You don't know whether or not you have the soul to do art until you do it. But I personally do not believe that. I believe there is an aspect of art that cannot be taught. I've always believed that ever since I was younger. I just feel like it's one of the few talents that's either given or is not. And I don't know what that creative process is. And you can be good at one form of art, whether it be not visual, whether it be dance, whatever else, and not be good at another form, or whatever else. So maybe everybody's good at some form of art, but not maybe specific visual.
And I think when you're not classically trained, sometimes you have to have more grit and just go through it and learn all and experience more. And I think sometimes people get stuck. Well, I was not trained this way. I have the freedom. I was not trained, so I'm learning it for wherever I can get it. I went to a class. I went to other people. I just did a collage with a friend, and he's learning, but we learned together, and we figured out some stuff together. So I think that can be, like, I don't think if you're not trained, you should not feel less than others who are trained. I think you should be proud that you get somewhere with not having teach the proper ways, I guess. Would you say that way?
This goes to the whole theme actually of the show. I think if she had been classically trained like I was, I don't think that her artwork would be the same. I think that it would be probably something different. Not that it would be bad, but it wouldn't be this. I think it would be a completely different thing.
But it's funny that I'm doing the classically trained oils and he is not.
Right.
You never know where your journey is going to take you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, so I think just one more that from me. For each of you, what can you name an artist that you love, that maybe you return to for inspiration, or just to make yourself feel good? Who do you love to feast your eyeballs upon as much as possible?
I'm curious on that one.
So one is Kibby. I will put it in the show notes. Her name is Kibby. She's in California.
She's painting now. She's a living artist now.
Yeah, she's a living artist. She does very abstract work. She did outgoing. That's how I met her. Now she changed into all kinds of other stuff, and is totally different than when she started. I don't know. She was just very. She did some classes online, and she's an inspiration. She started in her garage, and now she has her own gallery with all her stuff, and is doing really well in the world. And I saw her in the beginning. It's very inspirational to always look at her stuff, even though we changed quite a bit and not in the same time. John, I don't know the last name. Oh, I should have written it. He does very moody landscapes. Also, not what I normally paint or inspired to do, but I love how he does the atmospheric work with oils. Then Julie Bastide. She's from Australia and she does clouds in flowers. And she has also a podcast. I love her how she works and she has all her stuff just in the evenings after she's done with her family. Does amazing.
Oh, yeah, I have to look her up. She sounds awesome.
I'm a number of artists, but specifically there's 4 of them that are paramount to everything that I do. In no particular order of importance. Well, actually, no, there is one that I'll leave the most important one for last. So H.R. Giger is obviously, for me, a huge inspiration. He's the father of dark surrealism, created probably the most interesting imagery to me as a teenager. I tried to emulate his style. I mean, there was so much with his dark work, his dark mechanicalism that inspired everything from like just artwork to my tattoo work. You know, another artist, Zdzisław Beksinski, who is a Polish artist. Unfortunate story. He was murdered by his gardener, which was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yes, but he almost foresaw it. He painted scenes of death and macabre, and he actually painted the scene that he was found in about a year before he was killed.
You have to be very careful with your art.
Yes, exactly, right? Salvador Dali. I mean, you can't do what I do without recognizing the father of imaginative surrealism. It wouldn't exist without Salvador Dali. None of this would exist. I mean, I think Salvador Dali, as of right now, is probably the most influential artist in probably the last, I would say, 100 years, easily.
Non-big names.
Well, I was just about to get to the last one, and this is an artist that not everybody knows who he is, but Stephen Gammell. Stephen Gammell is the illustrator for the books Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I don't know if you read that as children.
Mm-mm.
Those illustrations were horrifying. As a kid, our library stopped carrying them when I was a kid, but we had
because they were so scary.
Because they were so scary. But when they were still there, we would sneak them out, and I got in trouble for having those books. But those illustrations, what's interesting is it was only that series of books. Everything else that the man does is good work, but it has no relationship to what was in those books. There was something that was going on in his head for those few books that was just unbelievable. And I invite all of you guys to take a look at these Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I got them the whole collection.
Yeah, they are so scary that those books were re-illustrated, and the originals have now been taken completely out of circulation.
Okay, I will totally be looking this up.
I have the books.
You cannot find the original books in any library nowadays whatsoever. And the new illustrations, to say the least, is like a deep name. Don't even bother. But
how funny.
Guillermo del Toro actually did a movie 2 years ago, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, based on those illustrations. Those illustrations, more than anything else I've ever painted, you will see the resemblance to and the relationship of my work to that immediately.
Especially your
the watercolor or mechanical pencil work, especially, yes, even more so than the paintings. But like I said, what's interesting is that he never created anything like that ever again. Everything else he's created has been beautiful illustration, but it's very standard children. Not anything like what those were. So
Did he scare himself and stop? You wonder.
I think he discovered something that had not been done before, and he didn't realize how horrifying what he was creating was. Like, if you look at the movement of those pieces, it's all pen and ink and watercolor India ink and such, and the way that those figures are created and the way they move through the atmosphere is so jarring that I don't know that you could recreate that if you wanted to. It was just one of those strikes of lightning, or it was just lightning hitting a bottle, and I don't know that you'll see that again.
Anything else you guys want to add to help us understand the show a little bit better that I haven't thought to ask you? That you want to say about it? Oh, yeah.
What is your next project in the pipeline for art and outside of art? Because
Outside of
you're more
art.
than just your art. You're fully rounded people.
Well, you have a project going on for next year.
Are we talking about visual art or outside of that?
Both.
Whatever you got going on, what is it? Spill it.
Well, I do have a project I'm doing with Brian here. We're doing a pseudo photography project that he's doing with my tattoo clientele. Pseudo. Well, it's a pseudo photography project because it's not just a photography project. There is more to it. There is more to it. So, we are working on something that is edgy and it has some very dark overtones. I don't want to give away too much to it, but
You have a collaboration.
we have a collaboration and it's pretty exciting. And then outside of art for me, I've been doing acting classes as well and starting to move into that field. I have no idea why, but there it is. So, and then for you?
For me, I have a couple of shows coming up I'm prepping for the gallery. I have some open calls I'm gonna have. Also, I'm gonna do a jury for it, so I'm gonna. Then for me personally, I am working on more oil paintings, and I do two projects. One now I have one with very dark, moody flowers. So that just came over. I don't know why. And then I'm gonna prep for a group show I have in October with the girls in my group. We had the first show in last October, and we're gonna incorporate gold and light. Creative
Light collective.
Yes. Because we build each other up all the time and we stay really tight throughout the group we created and no,
Is there time?
Are you training for an Ironman?
well, I have to get back and if it's training, how did I feel better? Yes. Half, not full. My dogs.
I was gonna say dogs always fit into the day, right?
No. Oh yeah. I do have another project in the pipeline. I'm working on a podcast. It's not all together yet, but we are building a podcast.
Can you say what is it an art podcast? Is it?
So we have a name, but we think we're gonna change the name because it's a little long. We're not sure yet about the name, but it's gonna be, huh?
Who is we?
Oh, me and Daisy.
Oh, okay.
And we're gonna have all creatives and in all genres, not just art. We wanna have writers, all kinds of stuff. Like not just film people, photographers, anything that has anything to do with creativity or even with meditation and all kinds of to open up creativity. So I don't know if we can keep that name we have right now. We like it, but it's a little long. Yesterday we couldn't remember. But we didn't talk, we put it on the wall.
They're describing their podcast
So-
beyond memory of the name of their podcast. Either one of them. Both of them are blank minded. It's like, you don't know the name of your podcast.
Probably not a good name.
We put out, we had a lot of podcast names and we decided on it and I got the website because that's another thing. You have to get the website,
Yeah.
the Facebook, the Instagram, the Pinterest. You have to have all these names. So that one stuck because we got all the names and we liked it. But then people were saying it's too long. So now we see if we can get another one. Then we had another name, but then it's taken.
It's 4 words?
No, it's 3 words.
Oh,
But 2 of them are long.
it's very long. Lots
It's
of
very
letters.
long.
You don't want to say what it is? No, because you might change it. That's too, okay.
And I have the website, and I have the Instagram, and I have it all. I paid all for it. So maybe I use it for something else. It is a very universal name, but I can use it for maybe for our
A retreat place. Okay, that sounds awesome.
farm with a lot of animals.
I like it. Animals and art. What else is there? Oh, who else has questions? Anybody?
I was kind of curious. It feels like, you know, if you're so like in the moment when you're painting it, that can't translate with tattoos though.
That does
When
not at all.
people come in, it seems like they're very different worlds.
It is. I'm completely prepped for tattooing.
And do people usually come in and say, I know exactly what I want, or do they come to you with an idea and you go to work and create the vision?
Yeah, at this point in my career, I'm doing the heavy lifting. They come to me with the basic bullet points, leg sleeve, these bullet points, quick paragraph, and I create from them. I don't take on projects for people that are being too tight. It's a disservice to the client to do that, because if you constrain the artist, you're going to create something that's satisfactory in both respects, to the client and to myself.
So you sketch out, they give you the ideas, you sketch it out and show it to them.
I won't show them anything. I don't show them anything. That's right. You commit to an 8-session leg sleeve a year from now by giving me a paragraph of information. So it starts off with a complete banner of trust. You know, that's the precedent I set. You know, that it's as simple as that. And there's a number of reasons why I don't send designs ahead of time. You don't know the person. I can go over the whole lineage. But for more than anything, I'm setting the precedent of creative control. You came to me, I did not come to you. I'm going to create this. You asked me to do it with these aspects. We will do that. And things can be changed. Things can be adjusted over time. These are very large projects. They take multiple.
So when are you actually working on a project though? Like the person comes to you now, they just book their time with you, or are they telling you those points now?
They'll tell me that, well, it depends. Like some people are like, I want a tattoo. I'll book it from here and I will figure it out. Like that's how antsy they can be just to get it done. If they like your work enough, they don't care what it is at the moment. They just want to know that they're there. It's almost like you're hungry. You're going to dinner. What are you going to eat when you get there? I don't know. I don't fucking care. But at least I know I'm going to a place that will have food that I want.
Well, most of the people do have a direction they want to go in.
At
They
least
want to
some
have,
sort.
like, if that's from the heritage or from like a story from back in the day, Greek or something.
Yeah.
If there is something they already kind of want.
You're saying 8 sessions?
Oh, for a leg sleeve, easily, and sometimes more, depending on the size.
It's also very different than art here.
Yeah.
Because there you're like getting it all out
Yeah.
quickly. And
Yeah.
this is again taking
Exactly. It's and my tattoo work can be much tighter. Has to be a lot of times. It's the two totally separate styles, obviously, and different thoughts on composition, which is actually advantageous. I think quite well. It's just two sides of the same.
So do you think you're faster in painting now because you work really tight and have already a structure? You know how some forms are?
Wound up rubber band snaps easy. So yeah, I think probably that's the best way to describe it. So yeah, that could be very well the case, and yeah. So yeah, I think that the looseness in my paintings probably come partially from the forced constraints of the tattoo work. But which is interesting is that the tattoo work now is moving in a direction where it has to have the illusion of looseness. You can never be loose in tattooing. It doesn't exist. The technical format would never allow for it. But I can give the illusion of it. So it's interesting that I have to create that whimsy in the tattoo with some of this imagery, but by doing it extremely tight.
You're still putting something on that.
Yes.
Going over, yeah. So when you start, you know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. Well, sometimes.
Sometimes.
I am known for freehanding. And I am known for just drawing straight on. A perfect example is a piece that I just finished a couple of days ago. She wanted a nature scene with a moose. I had the moose stenciled, and part of the river water they're standing on. The rest of it, we basically just drew on her, and you guys saw what it came up to be later. Some things I understand so well that I just would rather not.
Well, and sometimes in tattooing, when you put something on, it doesn't fit with the body form. So you put the piece on it. If it's like, let's say, face, you need the structure of the face. I mean, you can paint it onto it. He did that before too. But if that fits, but then the rest you have to do the composition around your muscle form, so that the hair flows with the muscles, so it doesn't look weird or bumpy because you have all the muscle structure. So you have to make sure it fits. The composition on the body is very hard.
It is. Yeah, you have to really pay attention to how a two-dimensional object reads on a three-dimensional surface, and a three-dimensional surface that's also one dimension.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's in my estimation, and some artists would disagree with me. Tattooing is the most extreme medium that you can do. There's nothing in the art world that's even remotely close as far as the stress and the pressure. It just doesn't exist. Even if you're under a time crunch to get a painting done, it's not a living, breathing creature, and you're not getting it done in 6 hours with zero ability to make a mistake. You're under some serious stresses that sometimes, if you think about them, will just make you absolutely crazy. Yet the stresses are there, even though they are always there. I think tattooing is a unique form that, again, only certain artists are able to do.
You work with needles. Do you have the stress too when you put the needle?
You probably you might have that same thought process.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes.
So when you feel the energy of people who are
Yeah.
like really stressed and you put the needles in, right, you can feel it. You have that doing a tattoo, and they in the tattoo world, they go through phases. Where they get euphoric, then they dip, and then they get quiet, and then they get loud again. And you have to work through all these, and you with the energy of the needle and the energy of the person, you suck that up. It's very fascinating.
I call it the stages of grief.
Yeah.
You know, but it's almost reversed because you end with pain and crying
Because something's being born
You start
on you.
You start with acceptance, you know. So it's interesting in that sense. Yeah. Any other questions?
Anybody else have anything to ask or say? Well, this has been really enlightening for me. I had a great time hearing about your art. So thank you. And thank everybody for coming to join us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.